Good morning and welcome to the live series Straight Off the Bat. Join us on Thursdays as we speak to individuals across multiple industries who will help you understand financial literacy and education. I am your host, Pauline Joseph, and if you're joining us for the first time on Facebook, thank you so much. Don't forget to like and follow our page to continue seeing content that help you manage your money. So today we are discussing how are banks transforming digital customer experience in Trinidad and Tobago with Richard Downie. He's the current president of the Bankers Association of Trinidad and Tobago, and he started his career as an IT consultant at Pete Marwick, now KPMG, and joined Royal Bank as a programmer analyst. He's a former national hockey player, so we have some stuff in common. I never made national, but I did play hockey for 15 years. And he is the managing director of RBC Royal Bank Trinidad and Tobago Limited and is the chairman of RBC Merchant Bank Caribbean Limited. So let's welcome Richard Downie to the Straight Off the Bat show this morning. Hello.
Hi, Pauline. Thank you for having me a second time. Glad to be on the program.
Great. So we're going to get into it because people usually think an hour is a long time, but when it comes to all information that we want to share today, especially when it comes to customer experience, I think let's start with the idea of digital and customer experience, because if we want to throw it all the way back, customer experience, as most people put it into, hey, I'm going into a store to collect something, hand my money, the barter system is no more, money, card, and then I leave the store. So
Right.
as it relates to the bank, what would you say is customer experience?
The customer experience is really making that whole interaction pleasant, efficient, and effective, in my view. I mean, and then that's not no formal view on it, but I would think if one were to say, what would you want? Certainly a pleasant interaction. And, where digital plays in that space is banking over the years has transitioned from that being one of coming and lining up in front of the bank, waiting for it to open, going inside, filling out forms, going to the counter and getting your transactions processed and leaving with cash in your hand if that's what you want, or a draft and so on. A lot now with the digital side of it, that customer experience has found ways to become more efficient or more effective, more pleasant, and allow for, you to get in there or not even have to get to the branch, operate from anywhere you need to be to transact quickly and effectively.
Great. So you actually went straight into the digital aspect, because I want to step back a bit into this idea of I've actually had conversations with friends who work in the banking sector, and they told me stories of people who come in just specifically so they could count their money and then redeposit it, because there's this physical aspect that a lot of us are holding on to. So how do we connect the dots when it comes to digital banking and the customer experience for that particular individual?
Good point. As we transition, you would find clients becoming more comfortable with not having to possess physically the actual cash, and that their record keeping purposes will confirm that they actually have the money. So as we transition, clients are becoming more comfortable, I'll use that word, in terms of with banks, the money is there, you have a statement, and if you do need to come in, you can actually check to see what funds you have in the account. You can get another statement at the branch and so on. In terms of actual counting the cash or walking with cash, clients, we continue to educate across all banks. They need to move away from cash, and it'll probably be one topic I'll get into a bit as we talk a little more on how technology has impacted, the banking and digital world, because cash by itself is high risk. There's fraud, there's counterfeit money and things of that nature. So more and more you see, to improve client experience, we try to move away from some of these areas where just to improve how things operate, but give you that sense of comfort that you still can account for the money that you have in the bank and the ability to move it around, either come in to collect cash or a draft and to move your money to another location or send the money abroad.
That's some good insight. And I want to tap into your wealth of experience when it comes to being in the banking sector. What
Sure.
is maybe one of the biggest shifts you see when it comes to technology and digital banking in assisting the customer?
Uh, Biggest shifts is, we and certain banks have different timelines where they'll try to be directionally moving across. If I'll step back in terms of worldwide, if you look within the European markets, you will see certain countries like Denmark and so on purporting to be almost a drive for what we call a cashless society, because cash, as we know it, comes with a lot of costs and risk overall. And because of that, there are benefits that as you move away from actually working with cash, that you eliminate a lot of issues that exist within operating with cash, having to count it, reconcile it, move it around. So one of the big things digital enables is de-risking to an extent the transactional nature of dealing with cash, both within your own personal um, values, and you have it cash at home, having it locked away somewhere secure. Of course, the risk of it being burnt. If there was accident of a fire, your money is gone and there's no accountability for it. But in a business, the risk of fraud, the risk of having to have security to collect the money. So that there are added costs behind just dealing in cash. While you could physically say, I have it, once it leaves your control and you in possession of it, it's difficult to say it's your cash. So let's say you're walking with an envelope of cash and it dropped out of your car, or you're walking down the road and it fell out of your purse. It's anybody's guess whose cash it is, right? Unless there's a note wrapped around it, it's cash. Who picked it up is now the possessor and the owner of that cash. So those sort of issues in a digital world do not really exist, and it's benefits that certainly will redound to the client.
Thanks for that. And the mention on cashless society, I think, is a great segue into the next question. But before I get into that, I just want to mention that we did have a conversation around cashless society with Carlos Newton
Okay,
of the Financial System Service Delivery in Trinidad and Tobago. So we'll put that link in the comment section because that's something you could watch after this live so you could educate yourself on that cashless society. So when it comes to the technological impact, I'm hearing that the risk is definitely less in terms of walking around with that physical cash, because I mean, when people tell me about cash only, I get afraid because I don't really walk around with cash that much. So there also has to be a comfort level with the user, the customer, the client, where we're saying, okay, we're comfortable with it. So, what is the intention from RBC's perspective to bridge that gap when it comes to that experience of branching online and, well, in the branch and online banking?
sure, Pauline. Maybe just stepping into that, I'll just add a few other comments around, the technology impact digital banking is having in Trinidad. Certainly, I mentioned a bit about it being more efficient, more quicker for the client, more convenient, of course, able to stay at home, even abroad. Sometimes you are abroad and you need to pay off your credit card or do things of that nature. Before it, unless you did that before you left the country, you would have a bit of a problem to get that done, or do an international call, racking up costs in a hotel, or by families calling an overseas number to try to get someone to assist you. So certainly convenience is key there, right? I mentioned a bit about the security features that come with it, a safer method of transacting and operating. And I wasn't going to be, you indicated the issue of cash, but and it being cashless, but that cash, as mentioned, individuals, businesses, governments all benefit from having less cash circulating and in being in operation, because there are costs overall for that. Relative to RBC, what we found is that we started to look at ways to improve our client interaction. And what we focused on is, shouldn't it be better to allow these simpler transactions, easier transactions to be done more conveniently at your, which is again through like digital online banking, card-based transactions. So you have your point of sale and so on, that you can go and use your debit card or your credit card and have that convenience and that power of shopping in your hand. If we do that, you then now allow within the branch a new dynamic and a new design. And I will, at this point, I'll talk about our couple new branches within Trinidad and Tobago as an example. We have one at Marabella and one at Sinclair, where that design really supports a whole different concept of what you would think is a typical branch that you walk into. The example you had up there shows, little cubicles where you can go and have a conversation and a discussion with a client, very confidential area. You sit, you can talk about what are your needs, your financial needs. You either have money to invest or you're thinking of trying to get funding, financing, either to build a home, buy a property, a car, or it could be for educational purposes for your family, your children, and so on. So the designs you would see now are what I would call more relationship oriented, where what you'll be seeing is a design that facilitates a really convenient way to sit, have a conversation, and feel comfortable to explain and go through what are your needs, what you're looking for. It's not facilitating a financial transaction in terms of I want to write a check, I want to deposit a check. This is more coming in, finding out what are the things either for investing purposes or what are the issues I will need if I want to proceed to try to purchase a property. You have ability to have a conversation, take a note, move or go back and leave with documents that you'll have to get filled and come back in and so on. So what we call the relationship side of banking, that it's more conducive to that. And you would see these designs more appearing, I think, across the country eventually. Some the banks may adopt similar natures, or parts of their branch will be so designed to facilitate that sort of interaction, where I can take you into a small cubicle, a small office, a huddle room. You bring your family, you might have your children with you, and you can feel comfortable that you're not in the limelight and you can talk privately and confidentially to that relationship manager or to that bank clerk to give you support.
So what you're saying is we're seeing an evolution of the in-branch experience where the customer is going to more engage with their money online, but when it comes to making those financial decisions, they're going to go inside the bank for it.
Very correct, Pauline. So what we call the more complex interactions. One of the pictures would have shown what we call a pod, and I want to, it's digitally. There's a couple of things we need to do. Clients, to your point, will not just gravitate digitally. So I'll talk to the pod concept, which is one, and you might see something similar like in an Apple store, where you are not over a counter and I'm behind the counter and serving you. It's actually facilitative. It's a round table, and yes, we have glass because of pandemics now. So it's to the left side there. You'd see a little computer screen with that little circular area to the left. It's really ability so we can more casually have an interaction. So these will facilitate certain transactional needs, but easily gives that sort of welcoming concept to work with the client. Right next to it, you'd have seen what we call our discovery zone, because I can't in the middle, and I can't have you come into a branch, talk digital, and there's no way for me to explain and show you how to, even go onto like an iPad or your phone, to do the actual digital and have the digital experience. So we call them the discovery zone. You come in, and if you need some guidance and help, we sign you up digitally so you can learn how to be more efficient doing the digital side. And those, we call them those discovery zones in the center there, provide and facilitate that. And then lastly, to the right, it looks just like a nice TV screen, big TV screen with an area to sit with a little coffee table. That facilitates advice events. You can have clients come in at the end of the day or sessions that are less busy and actually do a little guidance around first-time home ownership, what is needed to qualify for a home or a mortgage. We can work with various colleagues across different industries and welcome them in. So you see that sort of transitional way from queues and sanctions that you just come and line up behind to go to a counter with tellers behind it to one more of an engaging, open environment. Come in and have a discussion with your banker or your relationship manager.
Thanks for that information, Rachel. And I think that reference to the Apple space is a great conversation point when it comes to how we utilize our phones socially and tying it back to how we manage our money. So I want to talk a little bit about that, but right after the break.
Sure.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Straight Off the Bat. Join us on Thursdays as we speak to individuals across multiple industries who will help you understand financial literacy and education. I'm your host, Pauline Joseph, and if you're joining us from YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe to continue seeing content that will help you manage your money. Today, we're discussing how are banks transforming digital customer experience in Trinidad and Tobago with Richard Downie. He's currently the president of the Bankers Association of Trinidad and Tobago, as well as the managing director of RBC Royal Bank Trinidad and Tobago Limited, and is the chairman of RBC Merchant Bank Caribbean Limited. So we want to bring him in because there's a wealth of knowledge we want to tap into. So if you missed earlier on, we were discussing some of the new developments with RBC in terms of the customer experience and looking at the technological impact when it comes to digital banking. Now, we've seen this with in the tech space, and obviously we're now combining financial and tech, so it's the FinTech. And you mentioned earlier about separating what exactly customer is going to do in the bank versus being online. And what I found, and this is a personal opinion, is we feel very comfortable in the tech space from a social media perspective as users. But when it comes to shifting across to managing our money and, saying, okay, I'm going to look at exactly the money I spent, because there's certain features, for instance, in a lot of banks now where you can sign up for email alert when you make a spend on your card. So what maybe, or I don't know if you have an opinion on this with your knowledge in the financial space, what could be the hindrance of people not being comfortable managing their money in the tech space, but yet they're okay sharing their entire life on Facebook?
Very good point, Pauline. I think it's that whole area of confidence, trust. Do you have confidence in it, and do you trust it? And when you get in a jam, do you get out of it? In the digital space, there are the hackers, and people out there that are phishing to get information from you. And of course, this is something that we must be mindful of, that these things exist. So we hear these stories and people get concerned that, I rather deal with the physical. So I know what's mine and I have control on it. And that's valid, that's there. But banks continue to provide different methods of supporting and building confidence and trust. As an example, within RBC, our digital banking provides, when you sign up, there's a guarantee on, in terms of any transaction that's performed that you did not, and confirm that we can prove that you did not do the transaction, your funds are returned, right? So it's a level of guarantee to say, you might have been, somebody might have hacked into your account and you can show that you did not do that transaction. We'll investigate those things, and the bank steps into that space, because it's like equivalent of what you would call, you write a check and somebody takes your check and or gets your hand on some check leaves physically, and they try to forge your signature. there is fraud both in the physical world and in the digital world. So more and more banks do put a lot of effort working with all the key networks and agencies to ensure that there's protection, both consumer protection for the client, so you know your rights, you know where you're protected. Similarly, if you look in the social world, more and more you see the Facebooks and the the LinkedIn's of the world. There are guidelines as to what you can do and what you're protected by. But within those spaces, there are people taking over your Facebook account, and you have to find ways to protect yourself as well. It may not be a financial impact; it could be more reputational or brand impact, either on you or your company. But in the digital world, banks tend to find ways to build that confidence by providing either guarantees or other methods of support so that if you are for some reason impacted negatively, you have recourse to take. And of course, legislative changes need to continue to improve so that this becomes stronger to protect the consumer.
I really like that reference you made to, the risk that we all take sharing our information. And, we're already there. It's not like it's not happening. We're online. So we have to make
Mhm.
the most of it and understand the environment that we're in. And, it's interesting because I actually experienced this while in branch. Someone interrupted a session I was having with somebody at the bank to say, well, I want to do this thing. They want to make a deposit. And the person said that from the bank, she's like, well, the ATM, it's there. She's like, oh, I could deposit this in the ATM. And and she was surprised. And those are one of the things that I see a lot where people don't necessarily understand a lot of the products and services that are available to them. So
True.
for those who are watching this, how can customers utilize the online banking experience to make sure that, because a lot of us don't really want to visit the bank. No offense to you, Richard. No, a lot of us don't want to go. So, so how can we make when we actually go to the bank more efficient?
So you did break up a bit on that one, but I think I had to put back on the headphone. Um, we have a lot of services that people within branch that are still more convenient. So you may still make your way to a branch. The ATM is your new best friend. Your ATM, you can deposit money, checks, right? You can even transfer from account to account with your ATM card. People forgot that something that they used to do. They got so accustomed doing it on digital now that it's not a main feature anymore. But you could be, in a branch and realize the line is a bit long, but I can really just take this check if I just need to deposit it and do that actual deposit at the branch. I mean at the branch ATM. So certainly bill payments, we still accept utility bill payments. Most utility bills, the more common ones are there. Some cable companies as well. So these are things and features that just make life easier. If you just come in to deposit a check and you want to pay your utility bill, you go to the ATM. You could, in any case I mentioned, where we have that discovery zone, someone can actually help you go and maybe help you walk through that process. So the next time you come, you're more confident, you're able to do it yourself and get in and out within less than 5 minutes, right? Because the ATM is available to do things like that. Was that the main area, or would you just seek in other general feedback as well?
No, I think that was a good point. I know you referenced a few things before, but folks would have joined us at a late point where we're discussing, some of the digital aspects that consumers can, take advantage of when it comes to accessing their funds. And you did mention what RBC is doing with the pods, and I see Nicole and also made mention to the branches in Marbella and Sinclair. So in the fintech space, because we have all these trending words, it, it's an important factor for all of us because money is, how the world goes wrong. So we need to keep up abreast with what's happening. And based on the initiatives of the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago, what role do banks have to play when it comes to fintech and services? Well, first of all, I would like you to explain what fintech is, because a
Yeah,
lot of trending words don't necessarily mean we understand them.
yeah.
And then what the role plays in terms of the banks in Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay. So let's start with fintech. It's the combine of financial and technology. So we create this word called fintech. And fintech seeks to bridge all the technological capabilities that exist now with all these smartphones, very ubiquitous. You're taking pictures everywhere you go. You know, you're in the airport, you're on the plane, you're at a beach, but you may want from there to do something very simple, right? And you forgot to do it when you're back home. So a lot of persons are trying to say, and they think, you know, I have this device in my hand. Why can't I purchase a ticket for a concert? Why can't I send money to a charity? So that's now the financial side. So what you're finding is the financial side is saying we can bridge with the technological capabilities on phone and smartphones and iPads and all the different tablets to create this fintech world where transacting either two aspects, you know, the goods you want to purchase and how you're going to pay for it can be done through the technological world, through digital capabilities. So more and more persons are finding ways to order your coffee. I'm not going to know. I'm just going to go. I bring up, you know, if it's, I don't want to be calling companies names, getting, you know, promoting them, but you know, the local coffee shops. And you can have, I'll order my coffee and my muffin or whatever you want. I personally do my beef patty, must have my beef patty. And you would order it, see it's available. They'll tell you when to come and collect it, and you go down and you pick it up. If you have your financial details, no money's even passing there, right? You have those who do the drop off food. You sign up everything online. And during the pandemic, my son would order food on a Sunday, and I'm like, "So what you paying cash?" They said, "No, we paid already. It's online paid. They just deliver and drop it in a bag." So more and more, this fintech concept is being able to use your technology and interact with it financially and have that connection, and the two can coexist. So there are more capabilities and applications where these things are, people are identifying them. And what central bank locally has done is we're using something called a sandbox. We know as children growing up, what was a sandbox? Sandbox is where you can go and play, have fun, but not get hurt. Sand, right, is not concrete. So the sandbox is a concept like that, which is we will facilitate bringing these parties together with the banks who have all these good ideas and let them operate. It's not fully formalized in that there's still other guidelines and regulations within which to operate. And we learn from it and build our capability. So the banks are working in this sandbox. We do have various clients who come into each bank seeking to promote ideas of solutions they want to put forward, and they do need that backbone of a bank to monetize whatever solution they may have. So while I could sell points and you could use the points to go to parties and all of that, at some point somebody wants to get paid. They want to take money out. That's where the banks will come in. So everything will happen within that technological solution.
We have seen to have lost Richard there. Technology is something we have to balance and rely on. So we'll go on a quick break and hopefully we can have him refresh and let's restart because that was some really good content that we need to continue the conversation. So we'll be right back. Oh, and welcome back. We are actually waiting on Richard. What we'll do is go on another break. Not to worry, I know we're talking about digital and customer experience, but digital isn't going anywhere. So we have to work within the space that we have, and we would go on a couple more minutes. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Straight Off the Bat. Thank you so much for sticking it out with us. Unfortunately, we don't have control over the interwebs for now. We're working within that space, and as it comes with digital, we're just going to go with it, right? So, once again, welcome to Straight Off the Bat, where we speak to individuals across multiple industries who will help you understand financial literacy and education. I'm your host, Pauline Joseph, and if you're watching us on LinkedIn, you may have joined the event. Go over to our page and like and follow to continue seeing content that'll help you manage your money. Today, we're discussing how banks are transforming digital customer experience in Trinidad and Tobago with Richard Downie. So we want to bring him in because he was in mid-sentence and then technology was like, yeah, no, let's not talk about FinTech today.
Yeah.
You're back, Richard. Let's see if we can hear you.
Okay, are you hearing me? Unfortunately, the headphone's not working with the phone. Am I coming across audible?
Yes, you are actually perfectly audible. You're fine.
Okay,
We
great.
kind of lost you in mid-tech, with mid conversation with the
Yeah,
FinTech conversation. So I don't
so
know if you want to close off your thoughts with the role of FinTech and
yeah.
services.
So I think as we go forward, fintech will continue to have a more prominent role to play, uh, providing various sorts of applications and very creative ways that people are thinking of making things more easily accessible, either in the social space, in the fund space, and even in the business space. So there are a lot of applications for it, and it's a natural progression, I would think, where things are going. So we'll see more and more as we move forward. So this sandbox that I would have mentioned is just the starting point within Trinidad where we could facilitate and get more comfortable operating with fintechs.
And you mentioned some words there about because it's like a natural trajectory of where we're going with tech because you have a lot of naysayers where like, oh my god, all these trending words, there's not, this will eventually go away. Because I remember having a distinct conversation about a decade ago saying Facebook was a phase. So for the naysayers who are thinking, you know what, this is all something that will blow over, what say you to that?
No, I think it's my view. It's a progression, a natural progression. As we become more financially literate, more technology literate is key as well. People become comfortable. Let's go back. They may call it. I don't want to say which generation of change, but when we started to drive cars, who would have thought, right? You're hearing about cars driving themselves now, and the technology is there, and the capabilities there, and the infrastructure in certain countries are there. So in my view, it's a natural evolution, technological evolution, where things will progress. I'm not stating that what we use now may go away, but it will be less prominent. We talked about ATMs, it was the same story, Pauline. The 1980, when the first ATMs went into Trinidad, people said, well, ATMs are going to go away, they're going to die a slow death. But ATMs are still finding use, and people use them in different ways for different things. So I think it's more about adapting and adjusting as technology provides more capability,
more efficiency, and more effective in terms of its use.
Hmm. Was it whose generation was it when the car came and they're like, it's gonna go? Was it
You know,
your generation or your parents' generation?
probably my parents or grandparents. Might be my grandparents, I think.
Oh, each generation thinks they're smarter than the next. So
Yeah,
we we will see what's happening with the Gen Zers as the boomers are like, you kids and this TikTok thing.
yeah, yeah. But
Uh
you mentioned that, Pauline, right? This whole
mhm.
one thing you'll say culturally, though, and I mean, I'm borderline boomer, so I have to be careful what I say. I'm just on the borderline of the boomers. What you would find is clients and the generation, the culture is now for now, right? You can remember long ago you want to send money or do something or do things. It's a process. You start it will make its way, it has to get cleared, it'll take so many days. You try and tell someone, yes, it'll take you a month to send your money, and it'll go there, and and you sit in and wait. And it's a thing of now for now. If I can't transact and get it done within minutes, I'm not sure I'm going to do it. And that's what you're finding in the dynamic of things we do. If I want to watch a movie, when we used to buy DVDs and CDs, you used to have to buy a whole album, and everybody felt that was good. Nobody buys an album anymore. You buy the song, right? Why? Because that's the song I like. Okay, you might come out with 10 songs, but I want to buy the song that I like. The others I might buy eventually. And it's the whole idea that I have 5 minutes, I'll buy the song, I listen to the song. I'm not going to listen to the whole album.
Yeah, it is interesting because you know, I for me and my generation, I'm looking at the Stranger Things cast and on this show on YouTube, and one of the they have to guess what something is,
Right?
and the picture that came up was a VHS, and they were like, "What is this?" And they're like, they knew that it was a video, but they didn't know what to call the actual what you put the VHS
Process.
in, and
Right.
things like that is a definitely a representation of how the evolution of everything's gonna happen. Because the generation before is going to be like, "How would you not know what that is?" While the younger generation is like, "Why are you typing in the URL on the whole browser? It's actually there." So it's that, how do we talk to each other? Because you mentioned earlier that your son ordered food and he just used his card. So how did he find out about that actual company and that facility?
Yeah, yeah. So those things, as we continue to share things online, people become, if you look at the advertising now that happens, I'm sure everybody on listening to this program or viewing the program would have seen at least one bank ad online, either in Facebook, LinkedIn. And so, yes, you have your typical media, you have TV, you have paper, you have radio. But these digital space, people are becoming their businesses, right? So everyone will go and say, well, I go on YouTube, but how do you make money on YouTube? Well, the more views you get, the more likes you get, means that people are following you, means I could place ads. Now, the ads are very short. You could bypass them in 5 seconds if you don't really want to take on the ad, but it's really direct marketing, isn't it? So you have that concept that, of course, all these companies need to do is either via email, WhatsApp, get it out there, and the rest takes control. So you do have to be careful as well what you put, because once you put, you lose control of the message. It is now left for the social world to take it and interpret and comment on it. So it's a very fascinating world that we're getting to, where you can quickly get a message out there, but you cannot control the message once it's left. It's left for the viewers to determine, like, dislike, comment on it. So that's, to me, is what you're seeing happening in tandem, but certainly in the financial space, as we try to get customers more comfortable and confident in interacting digitally.
Yes, and I can see that when it comes to email addresses, right? So once somebody
Mhm.
has your email address, you tend to be in this, you tend to get all this spam. And I want to talk about, what the Bankers Association of Trinidad and Tobago has been doing from an
Yeah.
educational perspective. But
So,
before we get into that, We have a question from Marshall Panton. Wants to know, what do you think it would take for us to develop more advanced interbank transfers so that we can transfer money using just the recipient's email address or phone number,
Yeah.
example through Interact in Canada, Cash App in the US, or even WhatsApp in India?
Yeah. So what you would find with those apps, they have enough security around the ability to just use your email address to do that. Now, the question there is authenticity. How can I confirm your email address was not hacked? And somebody is going to take money because they're using the email to say, this is Richard Downie. I am giving you approval, Interact, which is equivalent to like a links, but with more capability, more digital capability in Canada. And you can send money, which I did to my brother-in-law in Canada, right? So the issue becomes for us here is we need to get to that level of security and control that we allow you to use your email address, and that is secure enough because of how we're doing it, that would be sufficient information to allow you to either do a direct deposit or in some cases, well, that's more used for direct deposits because it's you sending money. You'll hardly see that allowing you to directly debit someone's account. Those will go through the more formal channels of ACH, automated clearinghouses, controlled by the banking mechanism to authenticate the client. Normally, it's a company or business wanting to, like an insurance company, direct debit you for your insurance premium. You sign a document giving them approval that you don't have to come in every time to make this payment. Give us the ability to direct debit, and we once a month will pull your premium either for the car, for your home insurance, or for your life insurance. So it is something that persons are doing more and more. They're using just the email addresses. Some are starting to use just the phone number. But remember, once you use these mechanisms, we have to ensure the security around it is strong and it's not easily hackable. That will put you at risk. So that would be the journey we're on.
I want to piggyback off of that question and ask if we do have the legislation in place in Trinidad and Tobago to put those things for the public.
Some of it would need to improve. Right now, I'm not speaking off of memory. We talked certainly about being able to transact digitally. It does not really, in my view, get into the mechanism for authentication and validation, but says that if a transaction is done digitally, that there's certain things you can do and that you can take legal action. So what you would find is this may mean you need to just maybe revisit it. Maybe it's there and it's not on top of mind, but mobile wallets is a similar way. You have this mobile wallet that you have control over, and to some people, they don't understand the concept. How can a wallet be virtual? What about it allows it to happen? What is virtual about it is a piece of information that you control that no one else knows, and you can share what you call the public side of it, so people can put money to your wallet, right? You control accessing it and sending money out, the private side of it. The issue you have with the mobile phone is your number, while you know it, some places it's easy to get access to the number. As you say, socially, you probably have your phone number online. Signing into Facebook, you can use sometimes your phone number, your mobile number, or you can use your email address. So these more and more, once we have more security around it, I think it's really then left for it to be the mechanism within which we can transact and do some of these activities.
That's exciting things ahead. And we have a follow-up question actually. Will the investment in security have to be done by central bank or by the commercial banks?
Typically, it will be through the banking sector. What you would find is central bank will help put foundational guidelines how it should interact. So and this is really a bit of the sandbox space as well. I talked about, right, the FinTech sandbox. So central bank, if a need comes in and someone approaches a bank to say, we would like to do this offering, we want them to use their email address as a mechanism to transact, we'll tie it back to a credit card or a debit card. So that's how you're going to get the financial aspect. We have to feel comfortable that there's enough security And what we call, again, a little technical with some terms there, indemnity. Who's taking the risk? Is it the company allowing people to use their email to transact? Where does the indemnity take place? Are you indemnifying the bank that you would have enough protection around your application that the email address and someone using your app is secure? And if there's any exposure, you as a company take the risk. So this is where the sandbox allows us to talk through how it would work, where the exposure would be. Is it the bank taking the exposure? Or is it the company offering this new online capability taking the exposure? Central Bank will give us the guidelines to operate within.
Okay, so we responded to you, Michelle. Thank you so much for your questions. We want to discuss Bankers Association of Trinidad and Tobago and the education side of things, but we want to cover that right after the break.
Sure.
And welcome back to the live series Straight Off the Bat. Join us on Thursdays as we speak to individuals across multiple industries who will help you understand financial literacy and education. I'm your host, Pauline Joseph, and if you're watching this on Facebook, don't forget to like and follow our page to continue seeing content that help you manage your money. Today, we're discussing how a bank's transforming digital customer experience in Trinidad and Tobago with Richard Downie. He's the president of the Bankers Association of Trinidad and Tobago, and we want to bring him back in to have the discussion around what exactly is the Bankers Association of Trinidad and Tobago doing to assist the digital banking education of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. So, to you,
Pauline,
Richard.
yep, thanks for that question. As one of the key areas that Bankers Association seeks to promote and guide the population within Trinidad and Tobago is one about financial education. Digital banking is no different. It is a means of financial transacting. And so we continue to collaborate with various stakeholders across the industries, some being chambers, the various business chambers, to promote and put on events similar to like this one, actually, straight off the bat, where we can profile, highlight, provide information to guide persons on how to move forward and to be more digitally literate. What you would find is we do have focus areas. We do focus on the youth as well. But on the youth focus, they're fairly, I would say, comfortable more digitally. They're the ones that just, as you say, get into it and use it. They don't have to get a user manual. They just go and intuitively start to use these devices and capabilities. So what you'll find but they may not be what you'll find in the youth space is they're not as financially literate. So we do have programs that, one such as the Global Money Week, where we would engage various primary schools and secondary schools to help teach them various issues around money and matters relating to money. We also do work to support, conflict with women, people who are the various issues they're facing within the community. We try to reach out and do our corporate social responsibility to support in that space as well. Most of this we do partner with the various government agencies and support them in that space. We have our BATT newsletter, which comes out regularly, and that will seek to provide certain information to just help build that literacy and provide relevant information to guide persons as well. So these are some of the things the Bankers Association will be doing. We'll continue to look for ways. We welcome feedback that we can take away to see how we can further improve, certainly building the digital education, the digital knowledge and the literacy of our communities across the Trinidad and Tobago.
Awesome. And I just want to say as well, for those who are interested in getting notifications of these live sessions, the Straight Off the Bat show, make sure to register. We do have the links in the comments. So what happens is when we have guests, we are able to share with you exactly what we're discussing, as well as get feedback from you. So, when it comes to this conversation around digital banking and the customer experience, I really want us to um, solidify to anybody who's watching this, who may feel apprehensive. We're just saying, well, y'all are just wanting me to go on this new thing and you want to charge me more. And, what kind of conversation would you have with that person to alleviate those fears?
Yeah. So my starting point has always been when we first started to do online banking years ago, it was at a cost, right? Businesses wanted because they saw the benefit. They want to do things online, but there was a cost to transact online. If you look at it now, consumer, the retail personal banking type client, I think almost, I believe all, if I want to go on, I believe all banks offer this capability free, right? Relatively free for in terms of access. Of course, there can be a cost if you're online and it's sending a wire to another country or you're sending money to another bank. There's a natural cost of using the network. So there's a cost for that. But within the banks, you can move money around your account. You can pay someone. Most banks, if they have the option, you can pay another client of the bank. If you have the account number, you can send money to them, and most of those are free. So there are things that are becoming more and more economical to operate online, and that's where the benefit comes in, right? The confidence is key. And how do I build confidence? I build confidence for you to use it by ensuring that we minimize the exposure and your risk if someone was to hack into your account or somehow got hold of your password and was able to do something of that nature. So these capabilities are really trying to make it more convenient for you to do basic transactions, that you don't have to jump in a taxi, get to a branch, wait in a line, go to the counter to get a transaction done. You can do it online. You can bring up the transaction record. You'd see the details of when the transaction was done. Some people, if you want, can print the transaction from home. You have a printer. But to me, those things are stored online. There's no need for that. You can always call it up and look at the transaction and have that as your record of what's taking place.
Okay, so I think we have a little bit of internet, the quality. If we could just bring back Richard, because I really want to close off with some of the BATT stuff. Okay, so we're gonna go on a quick break, but Richard, I needed to refresh because I feel like you're pixelated. Or can you? Let's see. Yeah, we bit of a pixelation there. Something happened because you were clear and I could see you, but then yeah, so we want to do a quick break, and when we come back we want to find out what the plans are for the Bankers Association of Trinidad and Tobago for next year. So we'll be right back. And welcome back to Straight Off the Bat Show. If you want to bring back Richard in, we have one final question for him. And we want to, in this session, we spoke about the conversation of transforming the digital customer experience in Trinidad and Tobago. But part of the mandate for Banks Association of Trinidad and Tobago is financial literacy and education. So, can you give us some idea of goals for the remaining of 2022 as well as 2023?
Sure, Pauline. We will certainly continue on this drive of financial education. The we will continue to partner with various ministries. We will continue to partner with other stakeholders, the chambers within the spaces, schools. We continue to look for avenues within which non-governmental organizations, NGOs, in terms of finding ways to build this whole capability. What you will find is we do have a trust around that of the digital aspect of it and making persons more comfortable and finding ways that we can grow there. So we continue to profile and look for those opportunities, and we'll be playing in that space as we go forward. Legislatively, we will continue to lobby government and the various ministries if we think there are other gaps to be filled to ensure we have the proper legislative changes in place so that as we step into this more holistically as we go forward, we and the consumers are protected in interacting in this space. So those are some of the key things I would say. I mean, at the end of the day, we do want to ensure the population continues to become more financially literate, and that will always be an underlying factor as well.
Okay, thank you so much, Richard Downie, for joining us today and sharing insight into how banks are transforming the digital customer experience in Trinidad and Tobago. Don't forget to sign up and be notified for the next live show via the link in the comments. And always be sure to like and follow our page wherever you're watching this, Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, so you don't miss a single live show. Thanks again for joining us. See you soon. Bye.